You think of fire as danger, a force that consumes and destroys. You treat your sense of self as something to preserve from loss. To change feels like risk. To dissolve feels like death. Yet Shams Tabreez taught that what you call destruction may be the very act through which truth appears. The self that fears burning is not what you are. It is what hides what you are. He said that awareness must pass through the fire of honesty until no false layer remains to defend. The one who resists that fire protects illusion. The one who enters it meets reality. The paradox, then, is clear. The fire does not kill you. It ends the one who imagines it can survive apart from truth. What, then, actually burns? In the 13th century, Shams Tabreez appeared as a disruption to spiritual order. He did not soothe the ego. He exposed it. His meeting with Rumi transformed the scholar's identity into direct experience. Shams offered no theory, only confrontation. His teaching was not memorized but endured. He called every comfort that preserved self-importance a veil. What he offered instead was intensity, not of emotion, but of truth. He said the real teacher does not fill the mind with ideas. He empties it of pretense. For Shams, purification began where protection ended. You guard your image as if it were life itself. You defend your opinions, your achievements, your grievances. Correction feels like insult. Loss feels like disappearance. The mind calls this vigilance self-respect, but Shams called it imprisonment. The false self grows by defense. It builds itself through reactions, each one a repetition of I. The more you protect the idea of who you are, the more fragile it becomes. The mind lives in perpetual reinforcement, terrified of being questioned. What requires protection cannot be truth, for truth is unbreakable. So what are you defending, reality or your interpretation of it? For Shams, the fire was not suffering but recognition. Burning meant the end of excuse. When illusion meets truth, it cannot coexist. You think the fire destroys, but it only reveals what cannot burn. What disappears is the lie that once claimed to be you. The pain is not in losing being, but in losing pretense. Honesty, when complete, feels like annihilation because it removes everything that was pretending to exist. To be burned, then, is to see directly, without justification, without defense. You'd call this loss. Shams called it awakening. What if the fire is not against you, but within you, waiting for permission to finish its work? Shams described the false self as the I that claims what never belonged to it. It says, my thought, my truth, my love, as if possession could secure reality. But ownership divides awareness into claimer and claimed. The moment you say, mine, separation begins. This separation feeds illusion because it suggests that truth can be owned. Shams warned that the false self lives by this claim and dies when it ends. The fire, he said, is the undoing of ownership itself. When you no longer insist that anything is yours, what remains is not emptiness, but reality without distortion. Can truth belong to anyone, or does it only appear where no one stands to claim it? You want truth, but not at the cost of identity. You wish to awaken, but remain intact. Shams called this the final disguise of ego, the wish to see without being changed. The mind asks for light but fears exposure. When awareness confronts its own contradiction, discomfort arises, not because truth harms, but because illusion resists collapse. The burning begins when justification fails. You can no longer explain away what is false. You see the self's machinery, its habits of comparison, its need to appear good, right, certain. It cannot survive direct perception. Who remains when even sincerity is seen as strategy? When the false self falls silent, nothing disappears except confusion. Awareness remains, clear and self-sufficient. Shams said the one who burns completely becomes transparent, not destroyed, but unobstructed. Absence reveals presence. What you called I was never being itself, only interference. The fire removes distortion, not existence. You feared emptiness, yet what appears after the burning is fullness without ownership. You see thought, action, and perception continuing, but none are claimed. The one who said, I, has no ground to return to. Can there be loss when only illusion was lost? Shams used relationships as a furnace for truth. He provoked others not to humiliate them, but to reveal their dependence on image. His exchanges with Rumi were not sentimental but surgical. Through contradiction and challenge, he stripped away identity until only direct presence remained. Every relationship, he said, is a test of attachment, a reflection of what we still need to believe about ourselves. Love, in this view, is not agreement but awakening. It burns through expectation until only sincerity remains. Can love survive when it no longer protects illusion? Or is that when it truly begins? When ownership ends, action becomes simple. Awareness moves without motive. You respond, but not from defense. You think, but not to confirm identity. This is the freedom Shams described. Not escape from life, but freedom from the one who constantly measures it. To live without illusion is not to withdraw, but to participate without claim. Nothing external has changed. Only the claimant is gone. Peace appears not because the world is calm, but because there is no self left to demand control. The mind becomes a clear function of awareness, no longer pretending to be its owner. What could burn you now when nothing false remains to catch fire? The fire has no beginning and no end. It is not something outside you. It is the intelligence that reveals what is real. Nothing was destroyed. Only confusion was seen through. The false self was never burned. It was never truly there. Shams Tabreez called this becoming nothing so that the real may appear. When there is no one left to defend, awareness is free. What once felt like loss now feels like accuracy. The fire and the self were never two. Both were movements within the same reality. You do not escape the fire. You recognize that you were its clarity all along. What remains is not silence, but understanding. Thought without center, being without claim.